Hello, everybody, and welcome tonight to a very, very, very special engagement. We will be celebrating George Martinez for Anchorage Mayor with a night of smooth jazz. I'm one of the hosts for this evening. I'm Dr. Christina Bellamy. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'd like to first acknowledge that we are kicking off this amazing event on the land of the Dena'ina people who have shepherded this land for millennia. We thank you. So tonight, not only will we have an opportunity for you to hear from some amazing community members in the Anchorage scene and the state of Alaska, quite frankly, and why George is their choice for the Anchorage mayor, but you will also have an opportunity to hear from some amazing talent. We've got Kill Bill sax coming to you live tonight. In addition to that, though, you'll be able to hear from George himself. You'll be able to hear his passion, his focus, his commitment to the city of Anchorage. So without further ado, I want to get us going on tonight's presentation. Now, as this is interactive, so as you have questions for George, for the campaign, please, on Facebook Live, please go ahead and use the chat function, or the comment section rather, to post your questions. We will have staff members monitoring that chat at all times to ensure that we're getting your questions elevated and potentially asked and answered. Additionally, we invite you to go to the website so that you can see and what George has been up to. You can make donations and you can interact with us there as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. I'd like to have this opportunity to introduce Kill Bill sax. Raised in Anchorage, Alaska, from the age of 3. Bill began playing the saxophone in grade school and decided he wasn't going to stop. After graduating from Indiana University, Bill moved to Atlanta, where he sat in local jam sessions, eventually picking up a tour gig as a member of the Platinum Soul Band with the Universal Circus. Bill then moved to New York City, where he became a fixture on the Village R&B scene, working with and performing, with some of the best-known musicians on that scene. While sitting in with the Black Soul Experience at Manhattan's Club Groove, frontman Antoine Robinson shouted, "Kill Bill!" And the name, it stuck. The rest is history. In 2017, Bill joined B.B. King's All-Star Band, touring the Caribbean and Central America aboard Holland America Cruise Lines. Now, back in Anchorage, Alaska, Bill has been recording and working with various out-of-state producers and is recording his debut album. He's opened for Gerald Albright and Regina Bell, and also Al B. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kill Bill sax.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Bellamy. I really need to have you on all my gigs from here on out to intro. That's the very first time I've ever had anybody straight up just like read my bio like that and intro me, and it just feels so much more official. So thank you. Thank you so much to Dr. Bellamy. Thanks so much to George Martinez campaign for letting me be a part of this amazing event. Without any further ado, I'm just going to play a couple songs for you guys, and then we're gonna roll into it in just a little bit. Thanks again so much for hanging out with me. Yeah, that was Between the Sheets, everybody. Thank you so much. And let me know in the comments. I think I see there might be some technical issues, but if you cannot hear me, please let me know. I'm not sure what to do, but I have one more song I'm going to play before we bring back Dr. Bellamy. And again, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this amazing evening. you guys so much. That was my last song for now. We're going to, I believe, send the show back to Dr. Christina Bellamy. And again, I'd like to thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of this wonderful evening.
Thank you, Bill. That was phenomenal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he will be back. We are just getting started this evening. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are here to support George Martinez for Anchorage Mayor. He is the only choice for Anchorage Mayor. My father and I, Howard Bellamy Sr., are so happy to host tonight's event. Now, we have a lot more going on this evening, in addition to some amazing music coming back from Kill Bill. But you're going to hear from some community leaders about why George is their choice. That's very important as we move into this final stretch. You're actually going to have an opportunity to meet George and his wife. And then, you know, there's the Here's George, which is here's how you can help. Here's how you can support. Here's how in this last month heading into, well, not even quite a month really, heading into the election, you can help the campaign and help this worthy candidate become the next mayor of Anchorage. Without further ado, and with a man who needs absolutely no introduction because of his commitment to not only the city of Anchorage, but to the state of Alaska, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Ed Wesley. Hey, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have a great list of speakers this evening. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in, getting your groove on with Kill Bill as we raise some money for George Martinez. We have 5 or 6 speakers that we will offer a couple minutes to explain why they support George. I'm sure they will stay within that time frame so that the audience and listeners can benefit from the entire program. I'm going to start with myself. My name is Ed Wesley. I'm a former national committeeman for the Democratic Party, and I worked on the national level. My recent work was working with the DNC, and we got the Unity Commission established, and that Unity Commission resulted in a unified party after the convention. So I'm proud of that, and that work is done. Now my focus here as a community advocate is to focus on the BIPOC community. The BIPOC community, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, are 40% of the Anchorage community. And we have a candidate, George Martinez, who is uniquely qualified with some special skill sets that no other candidate has. George has worked as a diplomat in the State Department in both the Republican and Democratic administrations. He's worked as a program director for the Police Athletic League in New York. Those 2 skill sets will really benefit us here in Anchorage. I'm supporting George because I'm a senior citizen. Don't want my taxes to be raised. George has promised he's not going to be raising taxes. He's going to use innovation to generate revenue. Also, I want to keep crime down, and George has a plan to reduce crime. He wants to use the sports, working with the police department, to increase participation of young people into sports in order to occupy their time, as a way of helping to reduce crime. George will talk a bit more to you about that. But the thing that I'm excited about with George is that he has been working. He just didn't start. He has been working throughout our community, bringing people together. And that's what the city needs right now for this opportunity. So without further ado, I'm going to let you hear from some more of our speakers that we have lined up. And I'm going to start with Tasha Hosh. Tasha is a resident of Mountain View and a community advocate. Tasha.
Yes, thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here. I am so excited to be supporting George Martinez for our Anchorage mayor. And a little bit more about me. I live in the community of Mountain View, and I have been seen around town advocating for students and our homeless people and public safety. And in that volunteer work, I would also run into George Martinez volunteering on those same issues and many more. He seemed to have a little bit more time to get into different issues than I did. And I just really love that. When I look at candidates who are running for public office, the thing that I like to see first and foremost is their commitment to our community. And the best way to show that is to do things when you're not being compensated for doing them. And I've seen that from George, from his going out and, talking with community members about what we can do to make our community safer, how it can be more welcoming, what we can do to support our students, and what we can do to support our houseless population. And living in Mountain View, we do have a number of people that are taking advantage of the housing that's available here. And I love that. I'd like to see us provide more housing. The last thing I would like to see is our fellow community members suffering through this time. But beyond that, George's understanding of policy, budgets, and just bringing people together, I think, is what really hits me most. And then I couldn't be more excited to have a person of color running for this office that's not just a person of color, but a very well qualified person that could jump right in and build community and get things going for Anchorage to get back on track as we begin to recover from the pandemic. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you very much, Tasha. Our next speaker is a local business person, Julie Olson.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me, Ed. Really happy to be here to support George Martinez. I grew up in Anchorage. I graduated from East Anchorage High School, go Thunderbirds, and it was a big deal for me to move out to South Anchorage. That's where I live today. I've worked in the private sector for my entire career. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, and now I've run my own small business for the last 20 years. And the reason I'm supporting George, I've got a few, but there are a lot of positive adjectives I could use to describe George. Smart, charismatic, good presentation skills, beautiful speaking voice, leadership ability, and all those things are true and they're really important, but those aren't the reasons I'm supporting George. We're facing really serious issues here in Anchorage and Alaska. We have the COVID-induced recession, we have the low oil prices recession, we have state of Alaska budget issues, we have the Port of Alaska here in Anchorage that needs to be fixed, we have to find funding for it, and we should be worrying about employment and job training for the economy of the future, the place that Anchorage is going to be 10 years or 20 years from now. And to get there and be successful, we should be worrying about those things today. But I feel like in our community right now, instead we have partisan bickering going on. We've got censures. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on recalls. We've got Facebook trolling, Twitter wars, and so on. And it just feels like so many factions in Anchorage are escalating the battles instead of looking for the common things that should be uniting us. And what I feel is that when a person picks a side to be on, when you become so heavily invested in that side or committed to that side or maybe beholden to that side, then you're not able to really be open to new ideas or to the best solutions for any given problem. And the other side is just as invested and committed and beholden to their side. So again, when people have picked sides in this, then we're not going to be able to find the best solutions to the serious problems that are facing us here in Anchorage. And so the reason I'm supporting George is because he's an independent, and because he's not on a side other than the side of the people of Anchorage. He's on the side of building an economy that's going to work for everybody. He's building an economy that's going to work for all of our citizens, for providing job opportunities and training and education for all of our citizens. He's on the side of inclusion and making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. So I am personally, I'm really tired of the bickering that's going on at the assembly. I find it really embarrassing that they're calling it Tuesday nights at the fights down at the assembly. You know, it shouldn't be that way. We should be having a substantive discussion about the important issues that are facing Anchorage. You know, we need to stop arguing and start talking to each other and find common ground. And I think George is the person who can do that. And that is why I am supporting George Martinez for mayor of Anchorage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Our next speaker is Tony Nakasawa.
Hi, Ed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Tony. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you, Tony. Tony?
Yeah, sorry on that.
Are you? Can you hear me? Speak, Tony.
Oh. Ed, no, hear me. Ed.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry.
We might have to come back to Tony. Let's hear from Pastor Tommy Leonard.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this great event in support of George Martinez for mayor. I just have a few things to share. I believe he is the ultimate example of a servant leader. He is one who wants to bring the city of Anchorage together. He celebrates the diversity, and he uses the gifts and talents of all people to make Anchorage the greatest city to live in. In the celebration of diversity, it's not just in who he's willing to serve, but who he also has chosen to serve with him. He rolls up his sleeves and he gets right in the middle of the process. And that's one of the things I love about him, is that he doesn't just talk about what he wants to see in Anchorage. He gets involved in the process of making it happen. I consider him to be a great man with great character, great integrity. He is a real family man, not just for photo ops. He is a man who loves his wife, loves his children, and he's a great builder. And this is what our city needs. And I just love the way that he bridges all of us together and bring us all together and unifies us, and so that we can move forward to be a great city. So George Martinez is the man for the job. He's the man for the job. And I'm excited for I believe when he wins the election, I'm excited for the future of Anchorage. So that's the reason why I support George Martinez.
Thank you very much, Pastor Leonard. Let's see if we can go back to Tony. Tony, are you there? Okay. While Tony is getting it together, Let's move to Cindy Roberts.
Okay. Is my mic working there, Ed?
Yes.
Oh, good. Wonderful. So thank you all for extending basically Malcolm and me a chance to also endorse and support George. We are very lucky as a community that not only have we had a chance to build on amazing events over the last multiple decades of the Olympic bid, of the diversity, of the things that bridge builders brought to it, Pledge of Mutual Respect, working with the many different communities and figuring out how to link them together. Malcolm and I first met George actually because of some Bridge Builders events, but that was a considerable time ago. But you know, everyone listening to the various speakers, and thank you for exciting looks at everyone's exposure and friendship and respect for this man. I mean, if our mayor and our city can once again incorporate this magic, like Pastor Leonard said, of a servant listener and leader. You know, we've had leadership issues, certainly on the national agenda, where you want to go, wait, it can be done better than that. And I think George is definitely the guy to do that. He's going to bring a collection of people together. He's going to be able to listen and grow solutions to, you know, a whole spectrum of problems, between social problems and economic ones and geographic and education and just all sorts of things. But this is what the job is. And to know about it ahead of time, which he certainly does from his prior service, and be able to just mobilize not only his own energy and standards and ethics and work, but to incorporate others. I mean, you know, we're going to need some financial brains. We're going to need some legal brains and policy things that will probably add a little bit onto George's dossier as a city administrator. But he's got the skill set to go out and recruit and build and make it fun, because we're going to come up with great ideas of how to move our city forward. So Malcolm and I are very pleased to have George and Jorge as friends, and very pleased that he is there to help our city and grow into the future. So Ed, thanks to you for letting me speak up, and for Malcolm too, as our ideas are somewhat shared along the way, and certainly to the hosts and everybody who put this event together. So thank you very much. Great idea, and wish George all the best, and the team that's helping make it happen too. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. You and your husbands are icons of this community, so we appreciate you.
You're very kind.
Let's see if we can go back to Tony. Tony, are you there? Well, he's not coming on. I'm going to ask Dr. Bellamy to come back in, or shall I go ahead and introduce Clara? So at this time, I would like to bring George Martinez's wife on, Clara Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Hello, everyone. I would just like to start off by saying thank you all for coming out tonight and for supporting my amazing husband, George Martinez, in his run for mayor. Thank you, Margot Bellamy, Howard Bellamy, Dr. Christina Bellamy, Jen Motika, Kill Bill, Mr. Ed Wesley, guest speakers, and all who put this event together and who are participating. Thank you all for your donations, excuse me, for your time and energy, for volunteering, for your phone calls, and for your care packages. We truly appreciate you all. George, thank you for being an amazing husband, father, best friend. I am truly proud of you and so honored and blessed to be on this journey with you, honey. So George and I met on a blind date 23 years ago. And one thing George always told me when we were dating is that who he is today will always be who he will be. And I would like to share a quick story with you all. When we first started dating, one morning I was not feeling well and decided that I needed to go to the hospital, but it also happened to be the first day of grad school for George. As I'm getting myself together, getting ready to go to the ER, I asked George if he was ready, and he looked at me with his loving eyes and told me, "I love you, but I can't go with you now. Today is my first day of grad school, but I will meet you at the hospital or at the house later." To say the least, I was not happy, and I didn't really think he would show up, especially since his grad school was in New York City and I was in New Jersey. And New York to South Jersey, where the hospital was, is not an easy trek. And especially there was no Google Maps back then. So I get to the hospital a couple of hours later, and I'm finally in a room. In the hallway, I hear George's voice asking, "Which room is Clara Guerrero in?" And I'm thinking to myself, no way, he made it? Next thing I know is George walked in the room with his beautiful, bright smile, gave me a hug, kissed me, and whispered in my ear, "I told you I would show up." 23 years later, he still always shows up for me and our family. And I share this story with you all to tell you that this is the type of mayor that you will have. A mayor that's going to show up. One who will be honest, will make hard decisions, execute a plan, but always show up. When George told me he is being encouraged to run for mayor, I was not surprised. We love Anchorage and are proud to raise our kids here. I tell George, Anchorage reminds me of my indigenous land of the Garifuna people in Honduras. It's like a big village, where if you get stuck in a ditch, we don't ask questions. We just grab our shovels and start shoveling. It's a village and the community that gets things done together. We thank you all for your support, your time, your energy, your counsel. George, I am so proud of you, honey. I love you. Thank you for always showing up. And with that, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our next mayor of Anchorage, George Martinez.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Clara. Thank you, my wife. Thank you, all of our friends. And obviously, the Bellamy's, Howard, Margot, Christina, Mr. Wesley, all of my supporters and allies on the call, Malcolm and Cindy Roberts, Tasha. Thank you, Kill Bill. Thank you, Tony. We couldn't get your sound, but thank you for being with us. I'm deeply humbled and excited to be here with you all tonight. I do wish we would be we're able to be in person. That day's coming back for us soon. Today is a fundraiser and today is a deadline, and I appreciate the support that's scrolling on the bottom. But when I hear the voices of the people in the community that give me an opportunity to stand up and to use my voice, I recognize the incredible responsibility that we have to this place, to each other. There's a legacy of bringing people together that I am deeply honored to be able to inherit, recognizing that there have been people who have been bridge builders for many years in this city, who have been focused on making sure that we can work together, that we can have a city that recognizes how to disagree with dignity, roll our sleeves up, and get things done. Knowing that the culture, the value that transcends across many different and diverse people's backgrounds is that when we're in a ditch, we just want help to get out. Or when we see our neighbors in a ditch, we want to be able to be helpful. That's the work that I believe is the most important part of how we're going to rebuild, reset, rebuild, and rebound our city. Bringing people together is the highest order of what we could do. It's the legacy of what makes our city something special. A city that can imagine one day it could be the first city without prejudice, where political title, where partisanship, where identity, ethnicity, national origin, language, religion, where those things didn't have to divide us, where instead we could be the city that brought it all together, that shining city by the sea. I'm honored to be here with you all and to be a candidate, to carry that legacy, knowing that Anchorage is the place where many people have found that hope for opportunity to work hard and provide their families a better quality of life. I'm running because I know that the future of my family depends on the future of this city. And this is the last city for us. This is the greatest city, I believe, with that vision of what is next to come. And yes, we're working on it. We're bringing things together. And in this race, every single day, we're hearing that people understand the call to turn down the toxic partisan noise and to increase the growth, to increase the economic opportunity, and to make sure that we are stronger, better prepared, and more prosperous than before. I wanted to share with you these priority areas for me. And first, we're going to make sure that people understand that when we love Anchorage, the whole world will love Anchorage. We want to bring everybody back into the public square, into that space where we can invite the entire community to bring their time, their talent, and their love for the city into what's going to motivate our engine. Make sure that we're that shining city. But I also want to just talk about, beyond toning down the toxic partisan noise, growing our economy. Even before the pandemic, Anchorage was facing the challenges of what was next for our city. How would we move forward? How would we draw the industries here? How would we stabilize our economy for those that chose to call this home? How would we protect our seniors? And how would we make sure that our young people can thrive and be successful in this city? We're going to make sure that our economy is growing through investments in infrastructure, rebuilding our city, putting people back to work, money in our pockets, and growing the infrastructure to get us ready for the future of our city, the next 10 to 20-year vision for Anchorage. We're going to make sure that our city is once again that destination Anchorage, where people have always come, but we're going to make sure that they stay a little longer and go a little further, driving those dollars further around our community, providing more opportunities for good paying jobs, and also the opportunity for small business and the entrepreneurial spirit, which is so important in our city. I also see opportunities for innovation. We have investments at the airport, investments in cold storage facility, investments in the infrastructure, alignment with the university that will give us the opportunity to draw new industries into our community and tap into new revenue sources and potential new jobs for our people. The next component that's most important for all of us is to make sure that our neighborhoods are connected, safe, and thriving, that our community is clean, because we can roll our sleeves up and work together on keeping it that way. I've already begun tackling graffiti with creative innovations, bringing in our young people, our students, so they can grow this stewardship of our community. That's the future, a city that's investing in its young people, a city that's preserving neighborhoods and keeping us safer. A safe Anchorage for every resident is a city that says we are focused on a better tomorrow for all of us. And lastly, I go back to this education. The most important pipeline that we could build is the cradle to career and beyond pipeline. Making sure that our students are graduating high schools are ready for work and ready for entrepreneurship. We know that post-secondary education is not for everyone, but we want that strategic alignment to give our young people the opportunity to see college or career in this city as a viable option, knowing that they can grow their futures. Imagining here and think about raising their families right here. I know that there are many people on the call, there are many people out in the community that have a story of when they got here or a story of when their family got here. And let me tell you what my vision and my story is about that. I hope that my son one day, who's now lived here in Anchorage longer than he's lived anywhere else, that one day he'd be able to tell a story as he leans into his calling for servant leadership, giving back into this city, knowing how much it gave to him and his family. That he would be able to say, my dad and my mom drove here across the way. They came from these other places, and they brought their energy. And you know what? They didn't sit still. They leaned into this community. They love this community. And that's the legacy that I want for him. And I remember when I first got here, 2007, as a guest of the Urban League, Eleanor Andrews, the university, I met one person in the community that rocked my world. His name is Vic Fisher. And Vic Fisher, I could consider a friend. But I highlight Vic because Vic is the last remaining member of the Constitutional Convention of the state of Alaska. The state of Alaska is so young. There's so much opportunity. But it has to be an intergenerational community where we protect and preserve the promise of those who came before us, the pioneers of our community, the Alaska Native and Indigenous stewards, as we invite new and emerging energy into our city. I know the youth gives us an opportunity to define the pathway forward, but that way forward is only going to come when we roll our sleeves up, find the values of working together, learn how to disagree with dignity once again, and get back to that core spirit that made our city so great. And I mentioned Vic Fisher because he went to a competitive high school with me in New York City. And a lot of people may not know that, but that gives me hope and opportunity to know that this is the place where if we want to work, we want to build, if we want to grow that city of tomorrow, it is in our hands. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be with you all again. This is a fundraiser. I enjoy that Kill Bill's here. You'll be seeing some of these remarkable signs out in the community. There's great energy, such a diverse coalition of people coming together, and I'm thrilled to be able to be with my wife, who is my rock, who I am fortunate enough to have. I'm a very lucky guy to find to have a blind date that lasts 23 years. Is already a remarkable feat, and I thank you all for being with us. And I'll turn it over to, I think we're going to Margot Bellamy is coming on board with me. Is that correct, Margot?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. Thank you, George. Thank you, Clara. So this is a part where everybody can participate and in terms of asking your questions. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. And Jen will relay them to me, and I will relay them to George. So, George, while we're waiting for that, can you come back and just talk to us a little bit about what sets you apart from the other 14 candidates?
Well, that's a good news. The democracy is a great thing, and the more voices, the merrier. But I think there are a few fundamental things, and I'll just talk about why I'm running and some things that I have heard tonight from some of our folk that have highlighted. Mm-hmm. In this city, in this time, we are in this very divisive place. The noise on the 8th floor. I mean, to hear Julie, and thank you, Julie, for being with us. To hear Julie Olson talk about, that embarrassment around the assembly meetings on Tuesday nights become like Tuesday night at the fights. I think there's really a gap of leadership with respect to how to have grace of bringing people together. And it's this diplomatic background that I have, coupled with just traversing so many different real life experiences, enough to know what the value of both the importance of bringing people together, but how to do it creatively so that we can actually get things done. So I think there's a separation between holding that space that I carry. But I have a 25 years, Margot, of public-private sector experiences that help me create and see opportunities in ways that not everyone does. There's such a diversity of background, and that's really what Mayor Berkowitz, when he first got elected, saw, that I was able to help create new opportunities by bringing people together, finding strategic alignment, seeing creative innovations that we could tackle and bring that into the city in terms of my service in the mayor's office. And yes, I'm the only person running that actually worked in the mayor's office before, which is a different space. There have been people in the municipality, but the mayor's office is really charged with first bringing people together, setting a course of a vision, and that vision is both connects to the bureaucracy internally, how to move the pieces, how to set your leadership into a direction and set the tone, but it's also how to bring the public along, how to bring different stakeholders along, and quite honestly, how to bring enemies along. And that last part is what a lot of people don't recognize. They think that we can be divided and move an agenda forward. And I would argue that what we can do is bake things into the cake by bringing people together with new bridges of opportunity, new language, and taking advantage of new understandings. I mean, one example would be, Margot, the way the gaps in equity from education, equity gaps, have been so substantial for many, many years. Mm-hmm. Now, because of the pandemic, we really have an opportunity to reset the nature of what is foundational, addressing those equity gaps that used to be in a different position, and we used to have to make a different claim. Now it's fundamental to how we're going to recover dealing with those equity gaps, so we can get everybody back to work, into a full economy. We can finally make those arguments in a way that's going to bring diverse voices together to get things done in our city. I think all of that separates me, but yeah, I think I've heard it before too. I'm out there in the streets, so I'm in the streets. I'm rolling things up and getting into the mix, because that's where the people are, and that's where the need is, and that's where sometimes the work has to take us.
Yeah, great. I appreciate that. One of the things I really love about your commitment is your drive to do great things with kids and different things with kids. You know, your work in the mayor's office, your work with youth throughout our city. Can you talk about what your dreams are, what your vision is for our youth?
Absolutely. I want them to feel like this city loves them and wants them to thrive here. I want them to understand that from the leadership perspective, that this is their city, and that the leadership is working to build the bridges for them to inherit this place, because we have to build those replacement parts, and they have to understand, and our young people have to imagine that their futures could be here. And so that's important for me as a baseline. No matter what we do our young people know that we are caring, and that they're able to begin to own that space and move forward on their own. So that's always been how I wanted to evaluate just the effectiveness of things. Mm-hmm. Yes, but just going back, I've always been involved in working with young people, building political literacy in the community, helping young people understand how to engage and how to create the space for their voices to be heard. I have had the opportunity to reset some really important critical infrastructure for leadership. Leadership is critical to me in terms of building pathways for young people to go into service and into public service specifically. And yeah, I've rebuilt the Youth Commission. A previous administration let it go down, let it just be sunsetted, and that was a commitment for us to bring it back. But it was on the work, and this is another component, Margo, I think that's important, just with respect to the differences between the different candidates and campaigns. Like the mayor's office's job is to try to bring things to fruition and implementation. That's the number one role. So it's not just, we want to bring a youth commission back. It's then now, what does that mean? And we had to rewrite the ordinances, and I did that work. We had to actually go out and recruit in neighborhoods and community and build a relationship with the school district to find the pathways forward with all the nonprofits in the environment, bring them all together so they could start to find alignment. And then we also had to move the assembly and make sure that they were fulfilling their obligations in a timely way. And now we have youth commission. And then we also took that into a space where we have the youth representative on the assembly. The more youth leadership we have in the more parts of our city, the better. I want to see more young people on boards and commissions across the board. I want to see more young people serving in community councils and having their voices heard. I want to see us improving graduation rates, working with the school district and small businesses to expand our local apprentice business network so that we have more hands-on and experiential learning out in our community. Not only are we going to improve graduation rates with that culturally relevant hands-on learning, we're also going to inspire our next generation of entrepreneurs in our community. I want to see young people beginning to take ownership with creative placemaking in our town. Things like the trash can art downtown, which is one of the initiatives that I had prior to being in government, brought it into government, and it remains after my time in government. And now it's in the hands of the students. And that sort of kind of world that they could say, hey, this is what we'd like to do, and the city could be responsive. That's all really important to a city that's saying their voices matter and giving the platform for them to succeed.
Great. So what is one thing that this is a fun question, right? Okay. So tell us one thing about you that nobody knows. One thing about George that nobody knows. It doesn't have, I mean, something that you've experienced, some place you visited, some opportunity you may have had that was powerful, but maybe small. What drives George? Clara shared that one story, but I bet you have one other thing.
Which one did you say?
Working with the group in Mexico when you had to defuse.
There's so many. I mean, I've been so blessed to have a treasure trove of experiences. But I'm tracking what you're saying in terms of into the small, and there's something that pops into my mind that was a voice of a young person in our city here in Anchorage. A few years ago, happened to be, I've been helping to coordinate National Night Out for the in Mountain View for 3-4 years now, and other community outreach activities. So we were doing some preparation work, and I think I was out in the Mountain View Boys and Girls Club, and in one afternoon, and we had the mayor with us at the time, and some young folks saw the mayor, and my disposition is always to go over and give dap to the young people, like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And we went over, and I remember the mayor asked them a question, what's going on? Like, how are you feeling, and how do you feel about your neighborhood, or something related to that? And they looked up and they said, we live in a place that we're afraid of. We live in a place where we hear gunshots all the time, where people get murdered all the time. We live in a basically what's to be happy about kind of place. And it was just this real moment of where, I don't think that was what the mayor expected them to say, but they said that, and it was real and it was raw. Now, obviously in the minds of young people, we got a lot, they also maybe taking it to a different level, but it was real. But I saw something different though. When I went back to them, and as we walked away, I turned around, I went back to them and I said, hey, let me ask you this question. When you go to sleep at night, do you know Oscar? I said, this is how I said it. Do you know Oscar the Grouch? They were like, yeah. They was like, yeah, the one that lived in the trash can. And I was like, now Oscar was proud of his trash can though. I was like, would you say you live in the same situation as Oscar the Grouch? And they were like, no, we live in a home. Okay, you got in a home. All right, so when you sleep. And I was just bringing them a little further along to say, I hear you, but how we tell our story, how we want to communicate what's next for us is the power that we have. Yeah. So if we feel like we live in this dense place and we feel like there's no hope and opportunity, we have to turn that into a new story. And by telling our new story of what is possible, we'll be able to tell the people that are in power what's necessary. Right. But we gotta lean into that story. So I just share that because there are so many young people who feel like victory is not theirs in our city. And there are so many people who feel like they've not been heard across the diversity of our city in every which way, shape, or form. That I carry that every single day when I say I will return those phone calls and we'll have the most responsive administration that we've seen.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Thank you. So we have a question from Deshauna. And her question is, while Anchorage is facing many challenges, what do you think our biggest challenge is in transitioning from this past year?
Yeah, the number one thing, Deshauna, is we have to have a referendum that we want to turn down the noise. I really believe that. I really believe we have to have a referendum saying the toxicity is done. Now it's time to roll our sleeves up and work again. It's really hard for people to make that claim when we are coming, we're in a political season, and that's the nature of the political season. So that's why the unique diplomatic background, the unique hands-on background in the city of how to bring diverse voices together, how to bring bipartisan factions of our community together to roll sleeves up, that's critical so that we can then begin to rebuild and rebound our economy. We have to get people back into work. We have to do it safely. We have to get our schools going in a diverse way, and there's going to be modifications. But people want to know that we're going to have some semblance of recovery and stabilizing businesses locally, beginning to move in a safe way forward is what's important. And to do that effectively, you have to get people back to the collective space where we find each other, where we can lower the tone, or we will have 3 years of intractable noise. And I don't want that noise to go upstairs. My family, we can't afford it. Our city can't afford that. We have to build the bridges again so that we can rebound our economy. But let me throw something on there, Deshauna. Early childhood education, right into the mix of that. This investment in early childhood education, quality, affordable pre-K and early childhood services is a critical infrastructure investment. Now, being able to help make sure our economy can recover, get people back to work, and get more people back into the economy that have had this difficult challenge with early childhood education and pre-K for their young people. So I think that's a critical infrastructure component that we could get to in the first year as well, Deshauna. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have another question. Thank you, Deshauna, for yours. Kalim has a question. What type of infrastructure projects do you have in mind?
Yeah, Colleen, thank you for the question. And so Anchorage is sitting on 2 federal economic opportunity zones. One in the North Muldoon corridor boundary goes into J-Bear, and the other one is primarily in the heart of the East Downtown corridor, Gamble to A Street, and then that northern vicinity for East Downtown. Those are just 2 opportunities of existing federal economic opportunity zones that could be activated, but that will also speak to infrastructure needs for building downtown, thinking of the mixed use and the density development that goes into the downtown comprehensive plan that looks to that East Downtown corridor for building and extending the growth in that area. We're also looking at what that takes us to, because of that area, investments into public transportation infrastructure. Obviously, we have roads. Obviously, we have aging utility infrastructure as well. So those are important things. These are real jobs. These are construction jobs in our community. But the prioritization gives us the ability to start investing in ways that's going to help us grow forward. And I think when you invest in this northern corridor, you also could start investing in public transportation infrastructure. That looks like at things like potential regional rail in a future, a little ways out, but it's going to take 3, 5, 6 years of dedicated investments in this infrastructure. That's also true, and I'll just put out there for more affordable housing that needs to happen. And as we grow outward, there's aging infrastructure that we just have to repair and fix. There's a lot of things that have gone under maintained. Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, Colleen. That was great. So here's another question from Ginger, and it's on the screen. I'll read it. How do you envision developing the public-private partnerships with the municipality of Anchorage, UAA and UAF, local businesses, and advanced aviation? And what will be the result coming out of these partnerships?
I love this question, Ginger. In my role in the mayor's office for economic development, I was very much focused on the what was next question. And I had an opportunity to work with UAF, specifically the Quasi unit up there, the Institute for Advanced Aviation, UAA, and I just would note as a footnote, in 2017, when the then mayor and the then chancellor wanted to integrate the city and the university, they signed a 5-year memorandum of understanding to integrate closer relationships between the city and the university in all sorts of ways. And I was personally written into that memorandum of understanding. So that still takes us to 2022. So there's these existing relationships ready to go. So between the universities, and then also what really sparked this for us, knowing that we have out of all the airspaces in the country, we have the 4th most complex airspaces. So as public safety, fire, and police started looking at ways to access and utilize unmanned aviation systems, we brought that question forward as well. And then it turns out that there's an innovative company here called Indemnis in Anchorage that is a young person built a company, and they made the ballistic parachutes that would enable drones to fly over communities. So we have all of this high-tech innovation happening in our community. If you graduate South High School, you can graduate with a drone pilot's license. UAA, so all of this is happening. And what we were able to do was build a memorandum of understanding across all of these units. We did a joint application for an FAA waiver. And as a result of being able to get that work done, this company in town is ready to start manufacturing with one of the biggest drone makers in the world. But there lies one of the challenges for Anchorage: how we are able to keep with the right light manufacturing opportunities, spaces, and affordability. We need to be able to work with those firms to stay here. But this is also research, development opportunities, and new industries who are looking to us as potential headquarter cities for some of their northern R&D. This is a great opportunity for us to bring in, and the municipality's role is quite honestly a convener, bringing it together because we want this happening in our city. We want new industries here. And when we just get the step out of the way, lower some of the barriers, make sure that they can do some of the advanced manufacturing here and start to capture those revenue dollars.
All right. Thank you, George. That was a great question, Ginger. Thank you. So Tanya has a question. And this is a great one. If you were granted one wish for Anchorage, what would that wish be and why? Wow.
Well, that's a great question. And if I was a kid, I would want to make sure that I could play sports. And I'm going to use that as Tanya primarily because I know she's such a huge champion of community sports. And it reminds me of we're going to do some phenomenal things, and we don't have to wish. The power of what we could do is we can accomplish. And on that note, I want to make the pledge, and I've made this pledge to have all community sports fees for the municipal fees for all community sports waived for the next 2 years. We could do that with some CARES relief money that's coming. It's a small piece of this, but give everyone an opportunity and their families to just get back into healthy lifestyles with their community sports, lower the barriers for so many kids and families that are economically challenged now, and let's motivate that healthy lifestyle again. I dream big, and but honestly, Anchorage was in round 2 of Space Command sighting, literally. As much of a big idea that may have been, and wherever that goes in this next administration, we could imagine things like having national laboratories here, big old firms, Space Command here. I want to see summertime professional sports personally. I'm looking for the first Major League Baseball game to be held in Anchorage, Alaska, and I know we can have it. I know how to get it done, and we were real close to getting it. But ultimately, my dream is that, again, my family can thrive here, that the work and the promise of this community, that we can roll our sleeves up, and it doesn't matter who you are, and you could just work together on improving our city. That's what my hope is for us as a dream and for our city. So, yeah,
All
you know,
right.
I've got a lot of other things to say, Tanya, but.
Thank you, Tanya. And Ginger has another question. If you can be really quick, because we are slightly behind.
Okay.
She's intrigued by the possibility of bringing a major league team to Anchorage.
Yes.
Is this a dream or a real possibility? And how do you see that coming to life?
Yes, in 2008, in 2018, or 2017, I helped the city sign a compact with Major League Baseball and the National League Conference of Mayors to become a play ball city. This was a declaration that we would be investing and highlighting community sports. Specifically, we were focused on baseball. That set the table for, maybe people may not know this, but minor league baseball has been reorganizing farm teams all across the country underneath minor league baseball of Major League Baseball. In 2018, the president of minor league baseball came to Anchorage, Alaska, and met with myself and the mayor and other members of the sports team, the superintendent of Parks and Rec, and other members from the Office of Economic and Community Development. We had a vision, and there was a vision of them bringing the first minor league, Major League Baseball game to Anchorage. There's a baseball in the mayor's office that had the 2019 Alaska Baseball Classic. So they gave us a vision of it in 2018. It's still in the mayor's office. Now, that didn't happen. There was investments to Mulcahy that we need to make. We will make those. It's worth the investment. But then in 2020, we know what happened. It was a year that nothing moved. Everything flattened, and it's the pandemic year. So yes, with about $500,000 of investments into Mulcahy to bring the code up to the level of minor league baseball. We already had the Rockies minor league team and the Diamondbacks minor league team on deck. I believe that we will be able to bring that back as a conversation. If I'm elected this year, we'll bring the conversation back, and then we will look to how we're doing in 2022 and bring it all once again. But yeah, I think we're less than 2 years away from having the first major league, minor league game here in Anchorage, and then the start of what will be hopefully every year a week-long summertime thing where teams will come up every year to be a part of our Alaska Baseball Classic.
All right. Well, thank you, George. This has been a great, not just a great event, great evening, but I just enjoyed listening to your hopes and dreams for our city. I'd like to bring Jen in for the ask, and then Clara will follow up with a thank you, and we'll get back to some more jazz. So, Jen, hey, there she is.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Motika, and I'm the campaign coordinator for George for Anchorage. As you've heard tonight, there's a lot of different people in the community supporting George in his campaign. You know, one of the big things is these campaigns cost a lot of money, and I would challenge any other candidate out there to show the fiscal responsibility that George has shown. Every single dollar you donate, not one will be wasted. They're put towards supplies, towards the support staff, advertising. The biggest thing we need right now is to amplify this message. So if you're someone out there that believes in public safety, education, the future of Anchorage, if you believe in George, then now is the time to help us. If you can donate tonight, whatever you can, we appreciate it. Any amount, all the way up to a $500 maximum donation is appreciated and goes to helping with all these costs for the campaign. I've put the link a few times into the feed, but I'll include that again. There's a couple other really great events going on this weekend that you can come show your support as well as donate. Tomorrow we have at noon, Her Story Dance. the fitness shuffle ladies, Kasha and Misha, if you're out watching, hey ladies, give you a little shout out. They're going to be doing a beginner class at Drift Dance Studio, and I'll include the information here, or you can find it on our Facebook page. And it's going to be a great hour of dancing and sharing the love for George. We also have a plate fundraiser, Caribbean Latino, amazing food from 2 to 4, and that'll be a pickup at George's house. So you can stop by, say hi, and grab some dinner. So if you're out there, this campaign is for all of Anchorage. When we say George for Anchorage, it truly is for all of Anchorage, and that includes you. And we ask that you help bring a little support back our way so that we can continue to move this campaign forward. It's going strong. I know George is super proud of all the work that has been done. He has been out there. I mean, he is on call after call. He is out there bringing people in, no matter what they look like, where they stand politically. He's inviting them into the conversation. And that's the greatest thing to me personally, and why I support George, is his accessibility. He makes politics not seem like politics. He makes it seem like real life, which is what we're all going through. So if you support that, if you support George, please help us out and donate tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, Clara, can you bring us back to Bill?
Yes. Okay, here we go. Hey, everyone.
Right.
Just wanted to thank everyone again for coming out tonight. We truly appreciate you all. Like Jen said, we're going to be having some amazing events tomorrow. Hope you all can join us. And I just want to pass this on back to Kill Bill. Thank you all so much. Thank you, George.
Thank you, baby.
Amazing.
And thank you, everyone. And Kill Bill, and we're going to bring you back on. But I want to share a moment with Bill before we take off. Bill, I cannot wait for you to be playing at the inauguration, Kill Bill Sax.
Yes. That's going to be amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. It's great.
Let's do it.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody.
No, thank you guys so much again. And thanks to George Martinez and everybody who put this thing together. This is great. I could talk a mile a minute, but enough. Let's do the music. And thanks again, everybody, for having me. Thank you guys again for being here. I'm having a blast. I love my job. I don't know how many people get to say that, but this is great. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it going. Some classic R&B soul music. Yeah. Let's stay together. Let's stay together. I'm going to do a couple more songs for you guys, and then that is going to be my time for this evening. I'm having such a great time, and I hope you are too. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's like during these times, it is as important as ever for us to kind of lean on each other in ways that are positive. So if I can bring a little joy to your day, I just want you to know that you being here and listening, enjoying the music that I'm doing, it means everything to me as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I have one more song for you, and then that is my time for this evening. Again, shout out to George Martinez campaign for having me be a part of this, and thank you again. Please help this campaign, donate. George is the man for the job, so thanks again. I have, as I said, last song. Oh, go ahead, George. My apologies.
No, you're good, Bill. I'm just queuing up. You got it, brother. You got it.
All right, this is my last song. Again, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you guys again so much for having me. And my name is Bill Hauser. You can find me on social media as @KillBillSachs. And thank you again so much.
As a candidate for Anchorage mayor, and I approve this message. While being a public servant for over 20 years, my time at City Hall has allowed me to implement many positive changes, including tackling graffiti vandalism, strengthening public safety, and expanding economic opportunities for working families. Now as mayor, we'll do more together. We'll rebuild our economy and get people back to work, make sure every neighborhood is thriving, and unite the diversity of our city for real progress. Together, we can. Visit george2021.com to move Anchorage forward.